Good day, and welcome back to the Vitality Project. I'm Dr. Bob. Yesterday, we explored the frustration-aggression hypothesis. As you'll recall, it predicts that we will naturally scapegoat others aggressively when we encounter frustration, or in some ways where our wish is otherwise blocked. We get frustrated, and then we lash out. We lash out in an attempt to get even, but it often ends up being a very hollow victory. And you know what I'm talking about. Once you've lashed out or tried to get even, it doesn't really satisfy because it's neither deep enough, most often, or lasting enough to really provide any kind of long-term relief or satisfaction. So having said that, it's still quite understandable, and I really want to make sure that this is clear. It's understandable why we much more often will aggress against another person, particularly in the context of talking about addiction. We'll much more often aggress than we will utilize other alternatives. Think about it. In the face of addictive behaviors, especially when it's somebody we care about, it's so much more challenging to express our fears. For example, I'm afraid you may die. Or our sorrows. For example, I feel so sad that we no longer connect like we used to. You see, fear and sadness are vulnerable emotions. And we have been repeatedly hurt or disappointed. If you've been in relationship to somebody who's in and out of addiction, we've been hurt, betrayed, disappointed to the point of our having to put up a wall just to survive. You know, if you stop and think about it, it's far easier just to be pissed off than to be vulnerable, right? So where's the rub in this? In a nutshell, it's this. Stress is the #1 trigger for addictive behaviors, including relapse. And there's virtually nothing more stressful than being blamed. I'm talking about the addicted individual. There's nothing more stressful than being blamed. And then the self-loathing or the shame that generally follows in the wake of being blamed. And so the stress that comes from being shamed or blamed ends up becoming, ironically and problematically, the #1 trigger for relapse, oftentimes with those that are struggling with addiction. So for today, I want to ask you, can you identify a time, perhaps it's one that's even recent, when you lashed out at somebody in your life whose addiction, what we've been calling enslavement, to self-destructive behaviors or self-destructive behaviors, substances, drives you crazy? Can you think of a time where you lashed out in anger? And while you're at it, see if you can also identify maybe some other, maybe slightly less obvious emotions bubbling right under the surface of your anger. Feelings like fear for that person's well-being, maybe fear for your own well-being. Or how about sadness at the colossal waste of resource that follows upon addiction? We'll come back tomorrow and we'll examine how important this whole exploration is when it comes to constructive as opposed to destructive responses in the face of addiction. I want to thank you for joining me today here at the Vitality Project. I wish you a good day. Please stay safe, be well, and come back and join me again tomorrow.